I'm learning a lot of new things about crawfish, and I hope you are too. I enjoyed visiting with Allison and Conni and hearing more about the how and why they made king crawfish. Here's what they had to say. Okay, with King Crawfish, I really enjoyed that film, and one of the things I wanted to know was, how did you guys come up with the idea to do a film about the crawfish industry in South Louisiana?
Let's see, what would be fundable? Unfortunately, sometimes you have to think that way. No, I'm kidding. I grew up in Breaux Bridge, so I'm very familiar with the Crawfish Festival. So there was that part of it, but also before we did, I always do my college first, one of the other subjects we wanted to do a film about, which is still a possibility, is about these women who hunt in the Atchafalaya Basin. And I had met them, and their husbands were all, and actually they were too, fishermen, crawfishermen. And so I had heard about their story, about the environmental challenges that they were having in the basin, and I never could let it go. And then I was telling Allison about it, and it just seemed like something we were quite interested in, you know, telling that story. And the Crawfish Festival is coming upon its 50th anniversary. The pond harvest, the farming seemed to be going fine and well, great future, but the wild harvest seemed to be struggling. So it was just a way to bring that story to light, because it was kind of a sense of urgency about what was going on in the basin. So,
well, I know myself in particular, I had no idea that people actually went out in the basin to get crawfish. I thought it all came from a crawfish pond, so it was very educational to me in that factor, knowing that there are these men and women that this is their livelihood in the basin. I felt that came across really well. How did you approach telling the story of the festival and the families that were involved?
One of the interesting things as a folklorist for me is occupational folklore, and that, to me, in South Louisiana, it seems like we have a festival almost every weekend. Yeah. And I was interested in these people, this community that gets together, because it's a lot of work, and why would they do this, number one, and then why would they do it for 50 years, because that was the 50th anniversary of the Crawfish Festival. So from that sense, this is one specific festival and how it gets done, but it's kind of a universal representation of probably all the festivals you see in South Louisiana. It's kind of for the same motivation. It's a sense of community and all. And if I can say one more thing about the Crawfish Festival, which was interesting, every other festival before the Crawfish Festival began, which was in 1959, it was a celebration of a harvest, right? So you had the Shrimp Festival, you had the Sugarcane Festival. There was already an agriculture or a business, if you will, set up, an economy around it. The Crawfish Festival was the first one that what they were celebrating wasn't the crawfish production, because it really wasn't, you were still kind of embarrassed to be caught eating it, right? There wasn't, it predated the industry of crawfish, and as such, it's looked at as the first festival celebrating an ethnicity, the Cajuns. So that was quite interesting from a historic perspective.
I like that. And then for the filmmaking perspective, you know, what did that involve for you on that side?
Well, for this one, I wanted to kind of introduce the idea of, instead of having a story content that is the underlining driving force, I wanted to build scenes around, so think of it in more of like a fiction sense, where you go try and introduce the way that Catahoula looks, and the way that when you're in the neighborhoods there, you get the feeling of being there, and so you understand where the crawfishermen live, and then also the feeling of being in the festival, rather than saying, and then we ate crawfish and we showed them eating crawfish. Yeah. You get in the context, like a visual context, like the viewer is actually there. So that was what I wanted to do for this film. And
I think that came across really well, and I actually especially enjoyed it and realized that Dan Rather had come down when he was a lot younger to talk about the Crawfish Festival.
Yeah, definitely.
That was some interesting parts I found about it. So what did you learn about the festival that was most interesting to the both of you?
We had been filming there for 4 years. I feel like that I love D.L. Menard. Yeah. I learned that.
Yeah, we love D.L. Menard.
You guys had some great characters in it. I especially like the couple that dressed in all
Pete and Helen,
every year. And how long have they been doing that? since it started, or?
No, not since it started. I forget how long, but I guess that was one of the things, is how, and I guess I wasn't that surprised given the nature of Cajuns, right? They always want to embrace you and take you home and feed you and iron your clothes. But at the festival, even though it's this big commercial venture and it's so much work, they still befriend people. So like the Dragos that come every year, or the couple from Hawaii that come every year. It's like these people that put on the festival, they're friends of the spectators, of the patrons that come and participate. And I'm not sure you may find that in any other festival outside of South Louisiana.
Sort
maybe.
of welcoming.
Yeah, it's where they become your family, and they're going to take care of you. And I remember Ray Abshar telling me he's been playing at the festival for, I think, 31 years consecutively. And he remembers when it was downtown and how wild it was. And he was playing at the Carna Bar downtown, and he, he was feeling pretty good. And when he was finished playing, the cop said, well, you here's some food, you go sit down and you take care of yourself, and I'll take care of you, don't worry about it. And so you knew you were being taken care of if you were coming to the Breaux Bridge Crawfish Festival. Some local was going to take you in or watch over you. And I had some people that came say the same thing when they told their mom, oh, well, I'm going to the Crawfish Festival. Oh, well, okay, it's okay, you'll be taken care of there. So I don't know, it just had this reputation for caring, and
that's great. Now, when you were speaking to them, a lot of the talk was about the changes in the basin, and how much has that affected the people that earn their living from the basin? There are all the different kinds of changes. They were talking about the pipelines and the silt. Did you guys get an understanding of how much it has affected?
Well, like the film says, Mike says it used to be that they would crawfish full-time and then, get a little job, carpentry or whatever, part-time. Now it's the reverse. So now they have to have another job full-time, and they crawfish part-time because the siltation, has resulted in less oxygen in the water. So a lot of the crawfish are dying off, and they're just losing habitat. So, yeah, it is not good.
Yeah.
Now there is the basin plan, which our politicians are pushing through, and it looks pretty thorough, and they're trying to reverse a lot of these things and get the basin flowing with fresh water again like it used to, and get rid of those spoil banks. So there's hope, but whether or not, what happens, and I think in the film too, you lose that generational interest. So I don't know if it'll come back and spark interest, maybe if it's productive and you can make a living off of it. But
because the crawfishermen don't want their sons to, have the same challenges that they have.
Yeah, they want them to be happy and make a living, but they're not sure that that's going to be the case.
Right. I noticed the key element in a lot of the film was the passed down generation to generation, and now the younger generation is just not really learning that, and because there's so few, I liked the part about the guys that say, I only tell a few friends where I find the good stuff, and that's only sometimes, because it's not as plentiful.
It's like if you have your grandmother's recipe and she never told anyone, then when she dies it's gone. And so,
right. Well, hopefully they'll continue to pass that down.
And just that folk knowledge of the basin too would be lost. How to find crawfish, what are you looking for, watching those water levels, just all of that body of knowledge would be lost if the next generation doesn't pick it up. And then you look at the festival, and again, it's going on 50 years, and it looks like they don't have a problem. The kids are, being raised on the grounds because the parents have to be there, and they're stepping up and becoming directors and taking the lead. But so that looks fine and well, and they'll never run out of crawfish, right? Because you have the pond.
Right.
But it's about those fishing practices and that folk knowledge of the basin that I think we risk losing.
I found that very poignant in the film.
Not to mention the basin just being this incredible body of water, one of the largest swamps, most productive swamp, I believe, in the nation. So, yeah.
Well, for a filming aspect for you, I know in South Louisiana, especially in the basin, hot, mosquitoes. How did that work? Because the guys that you were filming and the women filming seemed, it was like the camera wasn't there for them. How did you achieve that sort of, ease with them and their fishing?
Well, we did a lot of filming in boats, which is challenging to begin with. And then they, of course, when they're crawfishing, they crawfish in these like aluminum skiffs that have this table in the middle of it. And so when you're on it and you're getting sound and you're getting camera, it's hard to kind of get around, and so you have to kind of just block it out and say, like, if I fall in, I fall in, and that'll be fine. But
so did you fall?
My favorite, I didn't fall, but my favorite story was I was using for the film, we used a Canon 5D for a lot of the crawfishing stuff. So you don't really cover your eye, you know, you hold it right here. And I was filming in another boat, and I looked up and there was a crawfish coming right at my eye, and it pinched my eyelid and then fell off. But Mike was just joking around and he threw a crawfish at me, but I guess he never thought that it would like grab onto my eye. So I had a bruised eyelid for a little bit. And that was funny. I mean, I'm fine now, but
lots of
that was hazards. Flying crawfish.
Almost got burned ironing, crawfish in the eye.
No, I mean, it's I think that in order to get people to not notice you, you have to, especially when you're dealing with like rural areas, you can't bring a lot of gear around. You can't make it a big production. You can't make them feel like you're Hollywood, because we're not. I mean, we live here, we're down the road, and I think the more that they feel like that, then the more that they are open to you being there, you know. So
that's great. Yeah. I found that they came across.
It's a trust thing.
Yeah.
And it's part of our method too of how we make a film. We start out just going out without a camera first. I usually go out first and get to know them, get the stories. Then they meet Allison. Yeah. Then we come with the camera. So it's just little baby steps.
Oh, that's great.